The environment to me is the space that surrounds us.
It's the place we live in, and that gives us all the natural resources we need.
The animals, the nature,
people you're around, and the place that you're around.
A big system like working together.
It's a place of nature that holds certain things, aka certain types of species or stuff like that.
I think it's everyone's responsibility.
Everybody in the world.
Everybody, really.
Humans, really.
We've all kind of broken it in a way, and we all have to fix it. I think we're all responsible for it.
Everybody who lives on the planet.
Everyone that can do something on the planet.
All of us. And mostly the garbage people.
So that they could show that they are a good, trustworthy company.
We need to be there for the planet so we don't run out of water supply.
We use all their products, so if they're green, then we're green.
Because without nature, we kind of can't live. You think we need the animals to live to survive. We need plants to survive also. And having a dangerous environment can lead to dangerous things or bad climates.
We have to protect it to keep society and communities together.
Stop polluting, it'll be a lot better, like cutting down trees and throwing plastic and a lot of gas, like cars and things like that.
Have to act quickly to help the environment since it is struggling right now.
Obey the law by no littering and no polluting. It's our home, so we can't lose it, really.
The water would be more clean.
The extinctions of animals would be less.
Live in a better earth and live in a better environment.
Polar bears would actually have ice.
If they all cared, then the world would be very easy to fix.
Vector is a very unique results-based company with a purpose-driven mentality, and we have presence in Mexico, Chile, United States, China, Vietnam, and we're opening an office in Peru soon. Before starting Vector, I worked for the Boston Consulting Group, so my background's in strategy consulting, and I hope that throughout this presentation, I'll be able to not only share a little bit of my experience working with industries and companies in the supply chain, but also you'll be able to see a little bit of my consulting background as I present some of the slides, some of the analysis, and some of the research. But before I do that, at Vector, we believe that a few caring people can and will change the world. So I'll ask you a quick question. Where are you when you come to this conversation? Sustainability, where are you? Are you on the left side? Is it more an intention for you? Are you coming from an emotional side? It's the right thing for you to do. It's our home. Polar bears are cute. Let's save our children. Or you're on the right side of this spectrum, which is more logical, it's a little more rational. You kind of know for sure that sustainability presents amazing opportunities, not only for your company, your employees, your shareholders, but also for the planet. So as we go through this, just keep this slide in mind. We're currently doing a terrible job. There's a lot of really good companies out there pushing hard to reach net zero, but at the end of the day, there are not that many, and some of those, even though they're doing a good job, they're not ambitious enough. Emissions continue to rise despite the need that we all know to get to net zero. The other thing is change is faster than we think. The future is basically here now. I'll bring you three quick examples: solar, wind, and batteries. The top part of this chart shows the capacity projections. The lower part shows the cost projections. I will just talk a little bit about the solar as an example. In 2020, we made this prediction. This is the light blue line. And we compare those predictions or those forecasts to 2010 and 2002. And as you can see, we're way off. We're 36 times at better capacity now than what we thought we were going to be in 2010. On the flip side, when it comes to the costs, We're also terrible at projecting costs. We thought that all these technologies were going to cost at least 3 times more to what they really cost. So we're not doing enough. Change is here. So in my opinion, I think we're already a little bit late. Early movers will take all the credit, will take all the opportunities, and will definitely bring a lot of value. I put together a couple of slides that I'll show right now, but towards the end of the presentation, I also put 10 extra slides clearly defining opportunities that we can all capitalize on. By show of hands, how many of you here have children? 2 of mine were forced to participate in the video that you saw before. So for my kids in particular, maybe you can agree with me, they don't see this paying for sustainability as a green premium. They don't see as they have to pay more. They actually see those 2 products and they completely disregard the ones that are not green. So for them, they don't feel like they're paying more. They feel like that's just the value of whatever they're buying when it comes to sustainability. This chart shows a very interesting survey made by the Boston Consulting Group. It basically asks people out there, would you pay more for sustainable products? Off the gate, 10% said yes, because they come from the intention side of things. They're like, it's our planet, it's the right thing to do, yes, we will pay more. Now, if you link those to different drivers like safety, quality, or health and wellness, that number jumps up to 30%. And then if you link that again to income, cost, or convenience, that number jumps up to 80%. So clearly there is a demand here. The green market is a reality, and we can all take advantage of it. Other markets are also paying attention to this. This is the 10-year return on global industry stocks. The yellow line is all the global stocks, and the other 2 are the ones that have anything to do with energy or oil and gas. Back in 2013, when I still remember some of these discussions happening, you could clearly make an argument that it's not clear. But now, in 2023, I mean, this chart speaks for itself. Vector works a lot in the automotive industry. We have a lot of, we have worked with some of these companies here in this chart, and we work with a lot of their tier 1 manufacturers. One of them in particular, a client of ours, multi-billion-dollar corporation with manufacturing facilities around the world. They make chassis for internal combustion engines. However, and this is not new, they've been working on this for a couple of years now, they have completely changed their business model to start manufacturing chassis that would accommodate batteries. This, of course, entails a huge endeavor, but make no mistake, they're not just adding a couple lines. They're completely betting on sustainability and electric cars as their future business model. Tesla, we all know Tesla, great example. They came in 2008 with the all-electric car. Their stock price rose incredibly high, bringing amazing profits to shareholders. And they did all that way before they reached their cost parity. Now, on top of that, they dragged everyone else in the industry that are now desperately trying to chase them back. Climate leaders can also attract talent. When we're hiring for our organization, and no matter if it's in China or in Malaysia or in Vietnam or in the United States, the number 1 concern that people ask us is, are you a purpose-driven company? And this has to do a lot with sustainability as well. So make no mistake, if you want to get good talent in the future, sustainability has to be a top priority for everyone out there. The good news is that it is entirely up to us, entirely up to companies, and in particular customer-facing sectors, because we don't have to rely on governments, we don't have to rely with politicians, we don't have to be too worried about whether this country signed the Paris Agreement or they did not, or the scientists say this or whatever. It's your company, it's your decision, and sustainability will bring a lot of opportunities. If you don't do it, it's still okay because government's going to force us anyways. So government is a little bit slower, but their laws have been passed incredibly fast, and they will continue to see this into the future. So what can we do? What can we actually change? Well, the Boston Consulting Group, working with the World Economic Forum, came up with this framework I think it's very elegant, it's simple, it's 5 buckets, 9 steps. Create transparency. Optimize for CO2. Engage with your suppliers. And I'll talk a little bit more about the engagement of suppliers in a second. Push ecosystems and enable your organization. A company of ours in the furniture industry, during the pandemic, was shipping a lot of furniture from Vietnam, China, Malaysia, and of course, we all went through this. It was crazy difficult to get space. Bookings were really nowhere to be found. The rates were incredibly high. But this company had a huge competitive advantage because they had a very good relationship with their suppliers. They had selected their top 3, 4 suppliers. They have visited them often. They have co-invested with them. They have become friends with them. And that made a huge difference. This company was able to ship not only on time, but when those manufacturing facilities were shutting down because they didn't have enough workers, no surprise. The product that they did manufacture was the one for this company, which led them to have inventory in the United States when their competitors didn't. So engaging your suppliers is critical. And for sustainability, it's not an exception. The first thing, setting emission standards for all suppliers, and then measuring and tracking performance, that's a very important lever that you and your companies can use. Some other companies out there like Puma even rewards them if they have some sustainability initiatives on their own. So work closely with your suppliers, invest in education, participate in the supply chain, because supply chains are really where we're going to be able to fix this problem. By focusing on your supply chains, you'll be focusing on 80% of the problem. 80% of the emissions are not on your own operations. And I'm not saying that it's not okay or it's not good to actually work on your own operations and try to get to net zero in your own companies. But if we shifted that mentality, try to collaborate a little bit more and see the bigger picture, why not focusing on the 80% of the emissions that happen in your supply chains as opposed to your own operations? Patagonia is a great example of this, and I have to admit, I'm a big fan of them. I love nature, love mountain climbing, and these guys are just amazing. Now, the good news for everyone here is that we don't have to pledge our companies to the planet. We really don't. What we do need to do, though, is focus more on your supply chains. 40% of emissions can be abated at a very low cost, and also with no impact to end consumers. So in this chart, the x-axis show the 8 supply chains, bigger supply chains in the world. You have fashion, auto, electronics, professional services, consumer goods, fast-moving consumer goods, construction, food, and freight. On the y-axis, you have the percent of emissions that you can reduce, broken down by how expensive it would be to reduce them. Green, of course, cheap. Orange, not so much. Red, a lot more expensive. So if you're in fashion or auto, for example, 70% of the total emissions in your entire supply chain can be abated at a surprisingly low cost and with no real impact on end consumer prices. So freight, and I'll just point this out, freight is going to be harder, right? Freight will be expensive. Why? Because I think the only lever we have, well, there's a few others like designing the hull better and things like that, but it's just fuel. Right? And fuel, that will take us a little bit longer, that will be a little bit more expensive, but everything else, we can get it done if we focus on our supply chains. So, quick recap. We're not doing enough. The emissions continue to rise. Change is now, so we're already late. There exist many opportunities if you put sustainability as a core strategy and part of your competitive advantages. 80% can be solved if you focus on your supply chain. And of that 80%, 40%, or even 70% if you're in fashion, is cheap and at no additional cost to your end consumers. So I will ask you again, where are you in this conversation? I, for one, know exactly where my children and their friends are, and of course, they are all our clients. Thank you very much.